it, just use it. Don't touch it, or he's going to turn it off. He's turned it off. That's going to show stuff.
Please be upstanding to receive the Mayor, Robin Wood.
Please take your seats, everybody. Welcome to the extraordinary meeting of the Council, which has been convened to consider altering Derby's electoral cycle. We're all into electric cars, but electoral cycles, I don't know. For those in attendance and watching online, the scheduled meeting of the Council will follow immediately afterwards and commence no later than 7 p.m, subject to a comfort break. Once the electoral cycle debate has concluded, we'll take a short break before proceeding with the business of the ordinary meeting. I have several announcements to make, but I'll make them later. First of all, do we have any apologies, please? Councillor Potter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Matt Ayres sends his apologies in self-isolation pending a medical procedure tomorrow. Thank you.
Any others? Councillor Evans?
Mr. Mayor, Councillors Graves and Graves Junior and Councillor Cuss.
Any others? Thank you. People are doing little sums in their heads, I'm sure. Okay, any declarations of interest? Not sure how they can be. No, thank you. Item 3 is Derby's electoral cycle. Our main item of business for this extraordinary meeting is a report allowing us to debate Derby's electoral cycle following the resolution of Council made in November 2021. At that meeting, it was agreed that the results of a consultation conducted between January and March 2020 would be reconsidered. The feedback from that consultation is included in the appendices to the report included with your agenda. The report includes a proposed motion that, once moved, will be subject to the normal rules of debate and can be amended should councillors wish to do so. Once the debate has concluded, we will move to the vote. As you'll be aware, any resolution to change the council's electoral cycle requires 2/3 majority of those councillors present in order to pass. I believe, as a courtesy, although this comes under governance, Councillor Shanker, you moved it last time. Can I invite you to move the motion this time?
You sure can, and thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'm absolutely sure some in this chamber will be saying, why is Baggy and the Labour group so obsessed with all-out elections? This is probably our 4th attempt in recent years to make this change. What I would say is we are obsessed in doing the right thing for Derby. The current 1/3 electoral system in Derby just does not work. Many residents still do not understand the system, and don't know why we do this. It adds approximately £500,000 of cost for the council. Business leaders, developers, employers and partners clearly see how this hinders Derby's progress. Public consultation demonstrates almost 83% of respondents would prefer the simple process of having the whole council elected once every 4 years. The same system used to elect Parliament and the same system used by the vast majority of councils across the UK. Whether Labour have been in control of the council or in opposition, my view has consistently been that whole council elections are good for the city and we must back this. Several times this council has agreed we should take a vote on this, but the crucial vote when it comes to making the final decision always fails because of party differences. I'm confident that it will be given the support today as the leader of the council, Chris Poulter, seconded my motion back in November to bring this vote that we're having today. I just hope recent events in Downing Street haven't changed his group's view. I'm sure the Lib Dems, who have consistently opposed all-out elections, will continue to do so, but I genuinely think for the wrong reasons. I totally understand they might struggle to find 51 candidates, and let's face it, we all might struggle to find 51 candidates now, but this doesn't make it the right reason to refuse or stop this from happening. It's the benefit for the city of Derby as a whole is far too great. As for UKIP reform councillors, well, he's not here today, but their decision will be made on what's right for Alan Graves, because it's only Alan Graves that really matters. Marketing Derby, who are tasked to bring investment to our city, back this. Our own economic development team know that this is really important. Business leaders in our city repeatedly say to me, if nothing else, please move to 4-year cycles. This gives the city stability, certainty, and allows investors, employers and businesses to make decisions with clarity and confidence. This will bring greater investment and prosperity to Derby. The arguments for saving the cash-strapped council significant money, the overwhelming public response to the consultation and the wider benefits I have briefly highlighted should persuade every single member and councillor, irrespective of political allegiance, to support the move to all-out elections. I do hope everyone has read the report and the consultation response. Previously, when the above considerable arguments have been dismissed, we have had excuses such as local government reorganisation will change the shape and size of our council. What if the leader is that arrogant he doesn't listen to the council? Electors should have a say every year. I say these arguments hold no water. Local government reorganisation has been spoken about for decades and nothing has really changed. If 51 councillors work together, we can remove a leader if need be. We answer to the public and the public have said they want to move to all-out elections. Now I suspect some may argue the Boundary Commission are reviewing the size of our 17 wards and that will be used as an excuse to delay this further. My response would, it's absolutely the right time now to move to all-out elections because the Boundary Commission are doing that review. It would be absolutely crazy to have a whole council election in 2023 and then move back to 1/3 the years after that. Also, must recognise it gives the Boundary Commission greater flexibility in the work they're doing in drawing up ward boundaries, as all wards then necessarily don't have to have 3 councillors. They could be less, they could be more, or they could stay at 3, but now's the time to have that review. In my view, Mr Mayor, without any doubt, all-out elections will put Derby on a firmer footing for the future, and as elected representatives, we are duty-bound to do what is right and in the best interest of those who live and work in our city. We must all back all-out elections.
Thank you, Councillor Shanker. Is the motion seconded? Councillor Poulter, Would you like to speak now or reserve your right? Thank you. Any other speakers? Is that an indication, Councillor Shelton? Skelton, beg your pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it will be no surprise to anybody that my group are consistent in their views. We will not be voting for this for a number of reasons. I think, firstly, to think that just by changing when you actually vote will actually change the culture of this council, or, for example, change it certainly, I doubt, would change the fact that we have mostly been, for the last 20 odd years, in no overall control. I have had a number of business leaders try and persuade me that going to 4-year elections would mean stability. I then point out to them that if you get an election result that is a particularly difficult, numbers-wise difficult, no overall control, you would not be able to change that for 4 years. And therefore you would have 4 years of instability. Members of the public, there is no clamour for this on the doorstep. I have never had anybody ask me, and certainly my colleagues as well, nobody has asked for it. There is no great groundswell of opinion out there that thinks that this is the right move. And I think that the public consultation that was carried out a couple of years ago was mainly whipped up by people being particularly told, go and do this, participate in this consultation, was mainly business people, and a certain number of whom are not even resident in Derby. So I don't feel that that is something we should take into consideration. Finally, I think 4-year elections, basically, you can end up with a 4-year elected dictatorship. And voters have no opportunity until another 4 years' time to actually get rid of them. At least at the moment, the members of the public, voters, are able to deliver a verdict every year, 3 years out of 4. And we feel that that is an important safeguard to democracy. And we're certainly not going to be changing our views on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to? Councillor Prosser.
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to respond to Baggy Shanker there, because Reform Derby members are free to vote as they see fit. We are not whipped or coerced in any way on any vote. The whip system and pressure on other councillors to toe the party line is often destructive and obvious, though I have noted that no whipped vote has been declared for a long time by any party in this chamber. So we will vote as we individually see fit, and we do not follow anybody in particular. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr.
As my colleague, Councillor Skelton, says, we have been consistent in this because we believe that votes 3 years out of 4, under the current voting system, and I'll put that caveat in, and I think particularly under cabinet government, is better for voters and the public because we get more accountability. Both are lacking under the current system. It's better for the parties. As Councillor Shanker said, we might all struggle to find 51 candidates. Parties, with elections 3 years out of 4, parties can always stand their best 17 candidates, and it means we are likely to get a better quality of councillor elected. And we also are more effective and more experienced because it's unusual for even 1/3 of the councillors to change between 1 year and the next, so that we don't get a big bunch of councillors coming in who may have no experience of local government or less experience of local government and need to go through a lot of training. We are more consistent because even after a big change election like we had in when you've got a really unpopular government, you will still get that stability. That stability remains. Imagine the elections at a time like this, when people want to send the government a message. It could be a Tory wipeout. So why should we want to lose all these advantages just to pacify a few noisy voices, many of whom are not even either voters or residents in Derby? We should vote to keep the status quo.
Thank you. Any others? Councillor Poulter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thankfully, the debate seems to be relatively short on this issue tonight. I suspect that's possibly because this issue has been debated on many occasions in the past, but I believe we've come to a point whereby we're going to make the right decision for the City of Derby tonight, and as Councillor Shanker puts it, doing the right thing for Derby. This has been discussed on many occasions in the past and been subject to considerable discussion, not least on this occasion within my own group. There's been a considerable amount of debate, but I think again the correct decision and conclusion has been reached. I don't want to go over, I could spend a long time going over the benefits of turning to an all-out position in the council, not least the savings that can be made. All our partners, every forum in which I attend as leader of the council over the last 4 years, have been absolutely clear on their views in relation to the benefits of an administration in the city having 4 years to deliver its manifesto and deliver benefits for the city without unnecessary changes in policy along the way. If we move to all-out elections, that will complete the county's situation. Every single council in the county will be therefore in all-out elections, and in actual fact it's a move that's replicated across the city, across the country even. Government are looking for strong leadership within the districts and the counties throughout the country in terms of the levelling up procedure and maybe other issues around joined up working between district councils and county councils. The government can see the benefits of all-out elections and strong leadership. So I agree with more or less everything that Councillor Shanker says, but in terms of what happens at Downing Street, I can assure him that the idea of doing the right thing for Derby absolutely applies there, because under my leadership and the leadership of the Conservative group, the government do not influence local issues and decisions that are made with the interests of Derby at heart. The other thing that I might take up with him is in relation to the ability of 51 councillors to remove the leader. We haven't had a vote yet, Baggy, but I'm sure that won't happen tonight. And I'm prepared to do the right thing for Derby and take the decision that we all need to do. And with that in mind, we do all need to back the move to all-out elections as a result of this paper tonight. The contributions from other groups in the council today were no better than I expected, and actually it just seeks to emphasise that there are only two relevant groups within this council. I could spend an awful lot of time speculating as to why the Liberal Democrats would want to oppose this motion. They are incapable of running the city and don't have any relevant contribution to making vast swathes of the city. So that doesn't surprise me in any way, shape or form. But Mr. Mayor, I don't want to prolong this unnecessarily. I am prepared, and my group are prepared to accept the move to all-out elections for the benefit of the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Peatfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, like 16 other councillors here tonight, am standing for election this year, and like the other 16, I shall be standing again next year thanks to the boundary changes. Should Sinn Féin and Osmaston honour me by electing me again 2 years in a row, but I gain less votes than the other two councillors in my ward, I would be up for election again in 2024. So I would be running for election for 3 years in a row. And this is a reality for up to 17 wards if we don't vote tonight for all-out elections. In Sinn Féin and Derwent wards over the last few years, we've barely reached a 25% turnout in some years. I mean, are we really happy to sit here and truly say we represent our communities on a 25% turnout? We should be doing all we can to encourage that percentage to be higher, and All Outs does that. A lack of understanding of how local elections work, voter ID and elections in thirds, add them together and we're putting obstacles in the way of getting people to the polling station. Last year, we unanimously supported recommendations by the Corporate Services Board for the Council to encourage women to stand as councillors. And we in this chamber acknowledge that we need more women to stand. We should be making it easier for that to happen, not putting people off. Elections are time-consuming, expensive, they're exhausting. Think of the work we could be doing in our communities if we weren't forced to focus all of our energies on getting re-elected constantly. Think of the changes and the focus, the progress we could be making for our city if we weren't forced to compromise what needs to be done because we're looking towards the next election. I mean, how many times in this chamber has the words, "you're playing politics," been bandied about? Well, tonight there is no bigger game. Voting against this, and you are the players, gambling against your own city that you were voted for to represent. We've seen the written words of the business community in Derby. There is only one conclusion to be drawn here tonight. If you don't vote for all-out elections, you are voting selfishly, for yourself, not for your city or your community. You're voting to keep yourself or your party safe, rather than doing what is best for the residents. And if you don't vote for all-out elections tonight, Derby Labour Party will certainly be reminding voters of that selfishness in 2022, 2023, 24 and beyond. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't have much to say on this, but I just wanted to say for the record, hand on heart, that quite genuinely residents of Darley Ward often say to me when this comes up, and it does come up with them because I'm explaining to them how the elections work, that they genuinely think that the 4-year cycle would make more sense for the city. And I'd just like to, as I've stood up, I'll just add my own personal support to my party's position on this. I genuinely feel, I can't believe there's anybody, any councillor in this chamber who doesn't really in their hearts want the best for Derby, and we know that our city should be a lot better than it is, and I do think this is just one factor in that move to us all doing everything we can to make our city better than it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologise to Councillor Poulter. I thought everybody who wanted to speak had spoken. That's why I called him as seconder. But I didn't want to stifle debate if people had a contribution. And I myself have a contribution, and I'm going to exercise my right to speak in favour of the motion before I call Councillor Shanker to sum up. There are lots of arguments both ways on this, and I've heard them all in the last 40 years, both ways. And I strongly supported elections by thirds for many, many years. And then I changed my mind. And I can tell you exactly when I changed my mind. That was in 2011. There were 19 seats up for grabs because there were 17 plus 2 by-elections. And Labour won 12 of those. And in all the others, the Labour vote went up. So the people of Derby had voted strongly, democratically, and by a majority in favour of a Labour council. What did they get? Because of the thirds, and they were only electing a third, they got a Conservative and Lib Dem council. I felt that was wrong in principle. It wasn't democratic. And the public didn't like it one bit. The public, when they vote, expect their will to be carried by the majority. And if they go and vote, they turn out, and we have enough of a job getting people to go and vote, and then it seems to them that their will, by a majority, is ignored, what are they going to do? At best, they'll stop voting. At worst, they'll just give up on the democratic system, and we all know where that leads. I've said 2011 when it went that way, but in 2018 it went the other way. There was a huge majority in favour of the Conservative group on that particular year. But we didn't get a Conservative majority on the council. So the public didn't get in 2018 what they had voted for. And that's why I'm supporting this motion tonight, because I believe nothing to do with party advantage one way or the other. It's a democratic expectation that when you vote one particular way in large enough numbers, you should have a council run by that party. That's all I wish to say, and please, Councillor Shanker, I call on you to sum up the debate.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. We've heard all the arguments. We've heard Councillor Peatfield, yourself, and Councillor Poulter strongly speaking in favour of this. And Councillor Poulter is right. We've had this debate many times over a number of years, and the time is right now to make this change. It's best for the democracy of the city. It's best for the prosperity of the city. So I'm really excited now to propose we move to the vote. And can we have a recorded vote, please, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, can 10 people stand up to justify that? Thank you.
Recorded vote.
Okay, that's the only time I'll ask you to stand up. Yeah, we've got the 10. So we'll move to a vote now, a recorded vote. And I don't know if the technology is going to work for it, but Alex,
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
His thing.
Yeah, I have the spreadsheet up on my screen, but unfortunately it's not possible to display it to you, so I will have to report the result at the end. But when I call their name, will members please indicate if they are for or against the motion as recommended in the agenda papers this evening. Councillor Attwell, please.
Against.
Councillor Barker. Councillor Bettany. Councillor Bonser.
For.
Councillor Kerr.
Against.
Councillor Carr.
Against.
Councillor Cooper.
For.
Councillor Dinter.
For.
Councillor Evans. Councillor Eyre sent his apologies for this meeting. Councillor Froggatt, I don't believe is in attendance. Councillor Graves Jr. and Councillor Graves Sr. are both not in attendance as well. Councillor Grimmerdale, please. Councillor Hassel. Councillor Heselgrave. Councillor Alison Holmes. That's 4 from Councillor Alison Holmes. Councillor Matthew Holmes, please. That's 4 from Councillor Matthew Holmes. Councillor Hussain, please. Councillor Ingle. Councillor Jennings. Councillor Jangir Khan. Councillor Shiraz Khan. Councillor Kuss is not in attendance. Councillor Lind.
Against.
Councillor Lonsdale.
Against.
Councillor Martin.
For.
Councillor McChrystal. Councillor Nater.
Against.
Councillor Nawaz. Councillor Pandy. Councillor Pattison. That's 4 from Councillor Pattison. Councillor Jerry Pearce. Councillor Tracy Pearce. That's 4 from Councillor Tracy Pearce. Councillor Peatfield, please.
4.
Councillor Adrian Pegg.
4.
Councillor Potter.
4.
Councillor Poulter. Councillor Prosser.
Against.
Councillor Repton.
4.
Councillor Ralston, please. Councillor Sandhu. Councillor Shanker. Councillor Skelton.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Smale. Councillor Testro. Councillor Webb. Councillor West.
For.
Councillor Williams, please.
For.
Councillor Willoughby.
Against.
And the Mayor, Councillor Wood, please.
4.
If you bear with us one moment, please, councillors.
I'm delighted to tell you that was carried. That brings the business of the extraordinary meeting to a close. We'll now take a short break before starting the ordinary meeting. I would ask that councillors are ready to reconvene at 7 o'clock. Delete as appropriate, it says. There we are. Go ahead.